The night was cold, dark, and full of rain. Small drops fell from the broken sky of the alien city, glowing faint blue as they hit the ground. A little alien girl named Lyra walked alone through the narrow streets, pulling a small hover cart behind her. Inside the cart, her mother lay still, her face pale, her breathing weak. Lyra's thin hands shook as she knocked on another metal door, her voice trembling. "Please, someone help us. My mother is sick." For a long moment there was silence. Then the door opened a little, and a tall alien man looked down at her, his eyes glowing green. When he saw who she was, his face hardened. "Go away," he said coldly. "We don't help your kind." The door slammed shut before Lyra could speak again. She pressed her forehead against the metal, whispering, "Please, she will die." But no one answered. That was the 17th door that closed on her that night. Her small legs trembled as she walked forward. The rain soaking through her thin cloth dress, she had no shoes. Her feet cut by the broken glass and sharp stones on the ground. Her long silver hair stuck to her face. Every breath she took came with a sob. The city lights flickered above, half of them broken. Somewhere far away, thunder rolled. Shaking the ruins, her mother, lying in the hover cart, coughed weakly. Lyra rushed to her side, wiping her face. "Hold on, Mama, please, just one more door, one more." Her mother's lips moved, barely a whisper. "Don't cry, my little star. Go home." Lyra's tears fell harder. "We have no home, Mama. No one wants us." She looked around, lost, scared. Desperate then, through the mist and rain, she saw a faint light, different from the others. It came from a small building at the edge of the city. Away from the others, there was something strange about it. On the wall above the door were letters written in another language, old, blocky letters that glowed faint yellow. Lyra could not read them, but she knew it was human writing. Her people always told her stories about humans, how dangerous they were, how they destroyed, how they never cared. "Never go near a human," her teacher once said. "They are monsters in disguise." But right now, Lyra did not care about stories. She looked at her mother again, her skin turning gray, her breathing fading. Lyra wiped her tears, clenched her small fists, and whispered, "Monsters or not, please let this door open." She walked to the strange building. The ground below it was cracked, plants grew wild, and strange machines were half buried nearby. The door was metal with rust along the edges. She hesitated for a long moment. Then she raised her small hand and knocked, once, twice, 3 times. The sound echoed through the rain, her heart pounded, her body shaking from cold and fear. She waited, no answer. She turned to leave, her hope almost gone. Then she heard a noise. The door unlocked with a heavy click. A bright light spilled out, warm and white. Lyra froze as a tall figure stepped forward. He was human, wearing a dark jacket and metal gloves. His face was tired but calm, his eyes sharp and deep blue. When he saw the little girl, he frowned. "What are you doing here, child?" he asked in a deep voice. Lyra could barely speak, her voice cracking. My mother, she's sick. Please." The human looked past her and saw the figure in the hover cart. He stepped closer, scanning the woman with a small handheld device. His expression changed, becoming serious. "Poison," he said quietly. "She doesn't have much time." Lyra's heart sank. She cried, "Please help her." "I'll do anything, just help." For a second, the human said nothing. He looked at her face, small, fragile, eyes full of tears and fear. Then he sighed and said, "Bring her inside." Lyra blinked. Not sure if she heard right, he repeated, "Hurry. Bring her in before it's too late." Lyra's body moved before her mind did. She pushed the cart inside, the warmth hitting her skin instantly. The door closed behind them, sealing away the storm inside. Everything looked strange, machines with lights, tubes, screens showing unknown symbols. The air smelled clean. The human moved fast, placing her mother on a glowing bed and connecting her to strange wires. Lyra watched with wide eyes as he worked. He pressed buttons, scanned her body, injected glowing liquid into her arm. The room filled with soft sounds, beeps, and mechanical hums. Lyra stood in the corner, clutching her small hands together. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she whispered, "Please let her live." The human didn't look up, his face focused and cold. Minutes passed like hours, then finally, the machine beeped differently, a steady, calm tone. The human stepped back. Breathing hard, he looked at Lyra and said, "She will live. For now." Lyra gasped, covering her mouth. Her eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were tears of hope. She whispered softly. Thank you, thank you. The human looked at her, confused by her words. He didn't reply. He just turned away, his face hidden in the dim light. Outside, the rain continued to fall. But inside that small human home, the 18th door, warmth and life had returned, and for the first time in her life, Lyra felt something she never knew before: safety. The room was filled with the soft hum of machines and the smell of warm air filters. Lyra sat beside her mother, who now slept quietly on the glowing bed. Her breathing slow but steady, she stared at the human who had saved her. His tall figure moved calmly between devices, checking screens, adjusting cables. Every light in the room seemed to obey his hands. Every sound around her was strange and new. She had never been inside a human's home before. Her teachers said humans lived like beasts, surrounded by weapons and chaos, but this place felt peaceful. The man turned and saw her watching. Your mother's heartbeat is stabilizing, he said, his voice deep but calm. She was very close to dying. Lyra's small lips trembled. You saved her. He didn't reply, just nodded slightly and continued working. Finally, he pressed a button on the wall, and the lights dimmed a little. She needs rest now, he said. So do you. Lyra hesitated, still afraid. Sir, why did you help us? She whispered. The man looked at her for a moment, as if the question surprised him. Then he answered simply, because no one else did. Those words hit her heart. She lowered her head, tears filling her eyes again. 17 doors, all closed, she said softly. They said humans don't care, but you did. He looked away, silent for a while, then he said, My name is Ryan Hale. I was a commander once. Long ago. Lyra blinked. The name sounded strange but powerful. Commander? She asked, like a soldier? Yes, he said, but not anymore. He pulled off one of his gloves and revealed a long scar across his hand. War leaves marks that don't heal, he murmured. Mostly to himself, Lyra didn't understand everything he said, but she understood the sadness in his voice. The air between them grew quiet again. She glanced at her mother's face. Color had returned to her cheeks, her heart filled with relief. And for the first time in many nights, Lyra smiled. A small, weak smile, but real. Thank you, Commander Ryan, she said softly. He didn't respond, but she thought she saw a faint smile appear for a second before he turned away. Hours passed. Rain tapped against the metal windows. Lyra sat curled in a blanket Ryan had given her, still too shy to rest. She kept looking around the strange room, machines, blinking screens, holographic pictures of people she didn't know. One of them showed Ryan standing with others, humans in uniforms smiling. But behind those smiles, their eyes looked tired, like they had seen too much. Who are they? She asked quietly, pointing at the picture. Ryan looked at it for a moment. Old friends, he said. They're gone now. Oh, Lyra said, lowering her head. I'm sorry. He gave a soft laugh. One that didn't sound happy. Don't be. You didn't take them from me. The lights flickered suddenly. Ryan's face turned serious, his eyes moving toward the window. Lyra noticed it too. The sound outside had changed. Through the rain, faint echoes of boots could be heard. She froze. What's that? Ryan moved quickly to a console, checking the external sensors. His eyes narrowed. Patrols, he said. They're scanning the district. Lyra's heart started beating fast. Patrols? But they only come for criminals. Ryan gave her a sharp look. Why would they come here, Lyra? The little girl's lips trembled. My mother. She worked at the council storage, she said, her voice shaking. She found something she wasn't supposed to see. Ryan frowned. What did she find? Lyra looked away. I don't know. But after that, soldiers came to our house. We ran. They said she was infected with some toxin. Ryan turned toward her mother's bed. He opened a drawer and pulled out a small capsule, a metal dart, broken and burnt. I found this inside her arm, he said. This isn't infection. It's assassination. Lyra's eyes widened. You mean they tried to kill her? Ryan nodded. Someone didn't want her to talk. A cold silence filled the room. Lyra's small hands clenched into fists. Her tears fell again, but this time they were mixed with anger. Why would they do this? She never hurt anyone. Ryan looked at her, his face hard. Because people like your mother, honest ones, are dangerous to those in power. He paused, then added quietly, "And now they'll come for you too." Lyra gasped. "Me?" Ryan nodded, turning off the main lights, leaving only a dim glow from the medbed. "They'll track her energy signature. Once they see she's still alive, they'll follow it here." He went to the corner of the room and pressed a panel on the wall. Part of it slid open, revealing a secret passage leading down into darkness. Lyra stared. "What is that?" "A place to hide," Ryan said, "in case they come." He looked at her mother one last time, then turned to Lyra. "Do not open the door for anyone but me, understand?" Lyra nodded slowly, fear shining in her big lilac eyes. "What about you?" she asked. Ryan smiled faintly. "I'll be at the door, making sure no one else gets in." He stepped outside, his jacket heavy with rain again. The wind howled. Lightning cracked across the sky. He stood alone by the door, the same door that changed everything. And as the sensors beeped again, showing movement in the dark streets, Ryan whispered to himself, "So they finally came." Inside, Lyra held her mother's hand tight. Praying silently, the machines beeped softly, and outside, the humans stood ready in the storm, waiting for whatever would come through the night. The morning came with no sunlight, only a dull gray sky and the sound of distant thunder. Lyra woke up in the small metal room beneath the floor, her heart still pounding from the night before. Her mother was breathing softly beside her, wrapped in a thermal blanket that Ryan had given them. The hum of the machines above told her the human was awake, moving around, watching, protecting. She wanted to go upstairs, but fear still lived inside her. What if the patrols returned? What if they found them? After some time, the hidden door opened with a soft hiss. Ryan appeared, his jacket still wet from the storm, his eyes tired but alert. "They're gone," he said quietly. "But they'll come back. They always do." He set down a metal tray with food, something warm and strange. It smelled different but good. Lyra looked at it carefully. Unsure, Ryan smiled faintly. "It's human food. Safe to eat." She nodded, took a small bite, and blinked in surprise. It was sweet, soft, nothing like the cold, dry food she was used to as she ate. Ryan sat on a crate and looked at the ceiling as if remembering something far away. "This city," he said, "used to be beautiful. Before your council turned it into a fortress." Lyra paused. "You mean, before the humans were banned?" He nodded slowly. "Before the war. Before fear ruled everything." She frowned. "But they said humans attacked first. They said humans wanted to destroy our people." Ryan gave a dry laugh. "That's what they told you? Figures. History is always written by the ones still in power." He stood and walked toward a console. Pressing a few keys, a hologram appeared above it, an old map of the city. But it looked different, full of life with green parks and colorful lights. "Humans built half of this city," he said. "We lived beside your kind, traded shared science, until your council decided we were too dangerous." Lyra's eyes widened. "But why?" Ryan's face darkened. "Because we didn't obey. Humans questioned their laws, their lies, and those who question disappear." He turned to her mother, still weak but awake now. Her voice was faint but steady. "He's right, Lyra." Lyra gasped and ran to her. "Mama, you're awake!" Her mother smiled weakly, touching her face. "I never thought I'd see another human again." Ryan looked surprised. "You knew humans?" She nodded. "Long ago. Before the purge. I worked for the Trade Council. I saw things they didn't want others to see." Ryan leaned closer, his eyes narrowing. "What things?" The woman coughed softly. "They've been making weapons. Bioweapons. They said it was for defense, but they were testing them on the outer colonies, on humans." Ryan's jaw tightened. "That explains the poison dart. They silenced you before you could speak." She nodded slowly. "They called it Project Haze. It was meant to make humans sterile. Erase them slowly." Lyra froze, horror spreading across her face. She whispered, They tried to kill you because you knew?" Her mother nodded. "And now they'll try again." Ryan paced across the room, his mind racing. "I thought the war ended years ago. But this means they never stopped." He looked at Lyra's mother with heavy eyes. "Why tell me this? Why trust me?" She gave a weak smile. "Because you're the last human I've seen who still remembers compassion." Before he could answer, the ground trembled. A low rumble shook dust from the ceiling. Lights flickered, alarms beeped. Ryan rushed to the console, his fingers flying over the keys. Motion scanners, 10 life forms approaching fast, he muttered. They found us. Lyra clutched her mother's hand, panic rising in her chest. Her mother's voice broke. Ryan, take her! Run! But Ryan shook his head. No one's running. He grabbed his plasma rifle and checked the charge, his expression hardening. Lyra stepped back, shaking. You'll die. He looked down at her, a faint smirk on his face. Not yet. The sound of metal boots echoed above them. Heavy steps, closer, louder. Ryan turned to Lyra and pressed a small glowing ring into her palm. Keep this with you, he said. If something happens to me, press the center. It'll guide you to the ship. Lyra stared at the small ring, confused and scared. Ship? What ship? You'll see, he said simply, then pushed the hidden panel open, climbing back into the main room. Lyra followed him halfway up, peeking from the hatch. Through the smoke and flickering lights, she saw the door shake under pressure. Ryan stood there, rifle ready, eyes fixed on the metal door that had once brought safety but now invited danger. He whispered to himself, so it begins again. Then with a loud crash, the door exploded inward. Blinding light filled the room. Armored alien soldiers rushed in, shouting, By order of the Council, surrender the fugitives. Ryan didn't move, his stance steady. I don't follow your orders, he said coldly, and fired the first shot. The plasma bolt hit one of them square in the chest, sending him crashing into the wall. Lyra screamed, covering her ears as more shots filled the air. Sparks flew, smoke rose. Ryan moved like a shadow, his aim sharp. His expression calm but fierce. The human who once saved lives now fought again. But this time, for an alien girl who once knocked on his door. Down below, Lyra's mother whispered weakly, 17 doors closed on us, but the 18th opened for war. The air shook with thunder and plasma fire. Smoke filled the room as flashes of blue and red light cut through the darkness. Lyra clung to the hatch door, her small hands trembling, watching in horror as Ryan fought like a storm. Every movement he made was fast, sharp, and perfect, like someone who had fought too many battles before. The alien soldiers shouted in their language, firing energy bolts that scorched the walls, but Ryan's aim never missed. He ducked behind a metal crate, rolled, and fired again. 2 shots, 2 soldiers down. Each plasma burst lit his face, showing eyes that were calm and steady. This was not a man fighting to survive. This was a soldier protecting something that mattered. Lyra's heart pounded as she crawled out from the hatch to reach her mother. The woman was coughing, trying to rise. Lyra, stay back. I can't, Lyra cried, dragging a blanket over her mother's body to protect her from the heat. The air was thick with smoke and the bitter smell of burning metal. She could barely see Ryan now, only the sound of his boots and gunfire guiding her ears. Then there was silence, no more plasma bolts, no more shouting. Lyra peeked through the haze. Ryan stood still in the middle of the room, breathing heavily, smoke rising around him. Bodies of alien soldiers lay scattered, their armor cracked and glowing from the shots, but before he could rest, a deep, mechanical sound echoed from outside. Something much bigger was coming. He turned toward the window, his face turning pale. Dropship, he muttered. They brought a drone. Through the smoke, a massive ship appeared above the ruins, its searchlights sweeping across the street. A metallic voice spoke through a loudspeaker. This is the Council Enforcement Unit. Surrender the fugitives and the human harboring them. You are surrounded, Lyra froze. Human harboring? She whispered. Ryan looked at her, his expression hard. They don't want your mother dead anymore. They want her erased. He ran to the console, tapping fast, activating a defense barrier. A transparent energy shield covered the windows, humming softly. Then he turned back to Lyra. Get her ready. We're leaving. Leaving? But where? Anywhere that's not here, he said, loading another energy cell into his rifle. The door behind them shook violently. This time it wasn't soldiers, it was an explosion. The wall cracked open, dust and debris flying everywhere. Ryan grabbed Lyra, pulling her close. Protecting her from the blast, the sound was deafening. And when the smoke cleared, they were no longer alone. A tall alien officer stepped in, wearing black armor with silver edges. His voice was cold as ice. Commander Ryan Hale, he said. So it's true. A human still hides among us. Ryan's face didn't move. You should have stayed in your council chambers, Zarek. The alien officer tilted his head. You know me? Ryan smirked faintly. You were a captain the last time I saw you. You tried to burn the refugee colony. Zarek's eyes glowed red. And you killed my brother that day. Your brother shot children, Ryan said flatly. He got what he deserved. Zarek raised his weapon. Then so will you. Before he could fire, Ryan lunged forward. The two clashed, energy blades sparking, plasma fire lighting the room. Every blow echoed through the house like thunder. Lyra hid behind a console, her mother whispering, "Don't look, my star, don't look." But she couldn't help it. She saw Ryan's blade lock with Zarek's, both of them gritting their teeth. Strength against strength, Ryan was faster. But Zarek's armor was strong. He kicked Ryan hard, sending him crashing against the wall. Ryan coughed, blood on his lip. He looked up, his rifle lying just out of reach. Zarek laughed coldly. You can't protect them. You're one man and the whole council hunts you. Ryan smiled weakly. You've forgotten something, Zarek. Zarek frowned. What? Ryan raised his hand, pressing a small button on his wrist. A sudden blast of blue light filled the room. Zarek shouted as his armor sparked and failed. The defense barrier had been rerouted into an energy surge. Ryan rolled, grabbed his rifle, and fired once. Zarek fell silent. Lyra gasped. Her small hands over her mouth, Ryan dropped the weapon. Breathing hard, he turned back to them. We don't have time. He lifted Lyra's mother into his arms. Despite her weak protests, and guided Lyra toward the underground passage again. They descended quickly, the hum of engines from the drone still above them. As they reached the lower chamber, Ryan pressed his hand to a scanner on the wall. The floor opened, revealing a small ship hidden in the darkness. Its wings folded, its surface covered in dust, but its core still glowing faintly. Lyra stared in awe. Is this your ship? Ryan nodded. Old but still flies. It's time you see the stars. He placed her mother gently inside and powered up the controls. The ship roared to life, the blue light from its engines filling the hidden bay. Lyra looked up at him, eyes wide. Where will we go? Ryan looked at her, then at the sky above through the cracks in the ceiling. Somewhere the council can't find us, he said softly, and where doors don't have to stay closed. The ground shook again as explosions thundered above. Ryan gritted his teeth. Gripping the flight controls, the roof began to open. Pieces of stone falling as the ship lifted, through the smoke and dust. Lyra saw the burning city below, the home that had turned its back on her. As the ship rose higher, she whispered, We'll never come back here, will we? Ryan's voice was steady. Not until the truth does. The ship broke through the storm clouds, disappearing into the dark sky. Behind them, the city burned brighter than ever. But for the first time, Lyra wasn't afraid of the night, because the 18th door had not only opened for safety, it had opened the way to freedom. The stars looked sharp and cold beyond the glass of the cockpit. The ship trembled as it broke through the thick clouds, its engines whining from the damage it had taken during the fight. Lyra sat beside her unconscious mother, wrapped in a blanket, staring out at the endless dark sky. It was her first time seeing space, no walls, no guards, no locked doors. Only silence and the faint glow of distant suns. Ryan sat at the front, his hands gripping the controls, eyes fixed on the radar. He hadn't said a word since they took off, but his tense shoulders told her everything. Are they following us? Lyra finally asked, her small voice breaking the quiet. Ryan's eyes flicked toward the scanner, red dots blinking far behind them. Not yet, he said. But they will. The council doesn't give up that easily. Lyra looked down at her mother's face, pale but peaceful. Where are we going? Ryan hesitated for a moment. Somewhere safe. An old station in the asteroid belt. No one goes there anymore. The ship shook slightly as it passed through a radiation field, the lights flickering for a second. Ryan adjusted the power levels, murmuring, Hold together. Old girl. Lyra tilted her head. You're talking to the ship? He gave a faint smile. She's been with me longer than most people. I trust her more than anyone. That made Lyra smile for the first time in hours. She whispered, She must be special. Ryan nodded. She saved my life once. Maybe she'll save yours now. As they drifted farther from the burning planet, Ryan finally leaned back, letting out a tired breath. He turned to Lyra. Your mother was very brave. She risked everything for something she believed in. Lyra looked up at him, confused. You mean the secret about the council? He nodded. Yes. The poison they made. The tests. They wanted to erase us quietly, not through war, but through silence. He paused, staring at the stars. She must have stolen their data. That's why they hunted her. Lyra frowned. But she never told me. She just said we had to run. Ryan's expression softened. Sometimes parents hide things to protect their children. He stood up, walked to a small compartment, and pulled out a chip from his jacket pocket. It glowed faintly blue. "I found this in her coat when I carried her aboard," he said. Placing it on the table, Lyra stared at it. "What is it?" Ryan's voice grew serious. "Evidence. The data she risked her life for. It's encrypted, but if we can unlock it, it could expose the Council's crimes to the entire sector." Lyra's small hands curled into fists. "Then we have to show everyone." Ryan looked at her, impressed by her courage. "We will, but not yet. If we send it now, they'll trace it back to us. We need help first." "Help?" she asked. He nodded. "There's a group, the Free Systems. They're rebels, outlaws, people who've seen what the Council really is. I used to fight with them." Lyra blinked. "You fought for them?" Ryan gave a tired smile. "For everyone who couldn't fight for themselves." He looked away, his eyes distant. "But I made mistakes. Too many. I thought I could save everyone. I was wrong." Before Lyra could ask what he meant, a loud beep filled the cabin. The radar flashed red. Ryan moved fast, typing commands. "They found us," Lyra gasped. "Already?" Ryan's jaw tightened. "Council interceptors. 2 ships closing fast." He slammed the thrusters to maximum, the ship roaring forward. The stars streaked across the glass as they accelerated. Lyra clung to her seat. "What do we do?" Ryan flipped a switch, opening a compartment on the ship's side. "Hold tight," he said. "We're going dark." The ship suddenly powered down, lights, engines, everything. Only silence remained as they drifted through the dark void. Lyra's heart raced. "Are we dead?" Ryan whispered. "No, just invisible." He activated a small panel showing faint energy trails. The pursuers zoomed past them. Searching but blind, Ryan smirked faintly. "Still works after all these years," Lyra sighed in relief. "You tricked them." He nodded. "Sometimes survival is about being smarter, not stronger." The moment of calm didn't last long. A faint sound came from the comms, a weak signal. Repeating, Lyra looked up. "What's that?" Ryan frowned, adjusting the frequency. The message came through. Broken, static-filled, but clear enough. "To any human ship still alive. This is Outpost Orion. We have survivors. And we know the truth about the Council." Ryan froze. Lyra blinked. "Outpost Orion? Who are they?" Ryan whispered. "It's impossible. That place was destroyed years ago." The message repeated again. Lyra grabbed his sleeve. "Then maybe someone survived. Maybe they can help us." Ryan stared at the signal, torn between disbelief and hope. He muttered, "If this is real, then everything changes." He looked at Lyra. "Hold on tight. We're changing course." "Where to?" He smiled faintly. "To meet ghosts." The engines roared back to life. The ship turned sharply, diving into the deep shadows of space. Following the faint coordinates from the transmission, behind them the Council ships were still searching aimlessly, unaware that their prey had vanished into the dark. Lyra looked out at the stars again, her fear slowly replaced by a spark of wonder. Beside her, Ryan whispered to himself, "If the Orion outpost still lives, humanity might still have a chance." The ship disappeared into the black horizon, chasing a voice that should not exist, a voice carrying both danger and hope. The stars outside the ship stretched like silver threads as Ryan guided the craft through deep space. The weak signal from Outpost Orion pulsed in steady rhythm, like a heartbeat in the dark. Lyra sat near the viewport, staring at the blinking light on the map, her small hands gripping her blanket. Her mother slept again, pale and weak but alive, her breathing steady thanks to Ryan's medicine. For hours no one spoke. Only the hum of the ship filled the silence. Finally, Lyra asked softly, "Why do you know that name, Orion?" Ryan didn't look at her, his eyes fixed ahead. "Because I helped build it," Lyra blinked. "You built it?" He nodded. "It was the last human outpost before the war. A place of hope, or so we thought. We called it the Dawn Gate." He paused, his voice growing heavy. "And I watched it burn." Lyra's heart tightened. "How?" Ryan leaned back, closing his eyes for a moment. The council wanted peace, or so they said. But they sent ships with hidden weapons, said they were for inspection. When we refused to hand over our AI cores, they opened fire. We fought for 3 days. He looked down, his hands tightening on the console. I was commanding the defense unit. We lost everyone. I escaped because a friend pushed me onto a transport and sealed the hatch. His voice broke slightly. Her name was Mira. She didn't make it. Lyra watched him quietly, unsure what to say. For the first time, she saw the man behind the calm soldier. The guilt, the grief, the pain he carried. He wasn't just fighting for her mother or for justice. He was fighting ghosts from his past. After a long silence, she whispered, "Mira saved you. Now you're saving us." Ryan gave a faint smile. Maybe I'm just trying to balance the scales. The ship beeped suddenly. Proximity alert. Ryan looked up, the radar flashing green. "We're close," he said, adjusting the trajectory. Outside, a massive shadow began to form. Dark metal floating among asteroids covered in debris and frozen dust. Lyra pressed her face to the glass, her eyes wide. "It's huge." Ryan nodded. "That's Orion." The station was broken and half dead, its once bright hull now scarred and blackened. Docking lights flickered weakly. Ryan activated the communication channel. "This is Commander Ryan Hale requesting permission to dock. If anyone's alive, respond." Static answered him. Then faintly a female voice replied, "Ryan Hale? That can't be. You're supposed to be dead." Ryan froze. "Identify yourself," he said quickly. The voice crackled. "Captain Sarah Vaughn, last surviving crew of Orion. You better have a good reason for waking up the dead." Ryan smiled slightly. "I'll explain in person." The docking clamps locked onto their ship with a deep metallic thud. As the hatch opened, a rush of cold air greeted them. The station was dark, lit only by emergency lights. Lyra held Ryan's hand tightly as they stepped inside. Her mother was left resting in the med pod, still too weak to move. They walked through the empty corridors, walls covered in burn marks and bullet holes. The air smelled of dust and rust. Then, from the shadows, a small drone floated forward, scanning them with a red beam. A woman followed behind it, tall, scarred, wearing an old officer's uniform. Her hair was silver, her eyes sharp. When she saw Ryan, her face went pale. "Ryan Hale," she whispered. "I thought you died at the gate." Ryan smiled faintly. "Guess I'm too stubborn for that." Sierra lowered her weapon slowly, disbelief still in her eyes. "Who's the kid?" she asked. Lyra stepped forward shyly. "I'm Lyra. My mother's hurt. He saved us." Sierra's expression softened. "Then you picked the right human." She turned to Ryan. "You've got nerve coming back here after what happened." Ryan's eyes darkened. "I didn't come for me. I came because the council's still doing it, Sarah." She frowned. "Doing what?" He tossed the glowing chip onto a table. "Project Haze, genetic sterilization, human extinction, still running." Sarah's face drained of color. She grabbed the chip, scanning it quickly, her jaw tightening. This data is real. Do you know what this means? If we send this, they'll hunt every survivor down." Ryan nodded. "I know, but if we don't, they'll finish what they started." The silence that followed was heavy. Then Sarah sighed. "There's a transmitter core still working in the lower deck. We can send this to the free systems, but we'll need time." Ryan turned to Lyra. "Stay with your mother. Don't open the door for anyone." Lyra shook her head. "No, I'm coming with you." Ryan frowned. "It's too dangerous." Her small voice rose, trembling. "You saved us because no one else did. I can't just hide while you fight," Sarah smirked. "Sounds familiar, Commander." Ryan sighed but nodded. "All right, stay close." They moved deeper into the station, past broken hallways and flickering lights. Lyra followed silently, clutching Ryan's coat. The sound of the old station groaning echoed around them. When they reached the transmitter room, Ryan stopped dead in his tracks. The doors were already open. Someone had been there recently. Inside, the control panels glowed faintly, and in the center stood a tall figure in black armor, its helmet turned toward them, a cold voice echoing through the chamber. "Ryan Hale, we knew you'd come back." Ryan raised his weapon, his eyes narrowing. "Who sent you?" The armored figure stepped forward. "The council doesn't send us," it said slowly. "We are the council," Lyra gasped. Stepping behind Ryan, Sarah cursed under her breath. Raising her blaster, Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then this ends here." The figure's visor flashed red. "No," it said. "It only begins." And the room filled with blinding light as the past Ryan had tried to escape came crashing back to life. The light faded slowly, leaving smoke and silence behind. Ryan's body ached as he pushed himself up from the floor, his ears ringing from the explosion. The transmitter room was in ruins, panels shattered, sparks flickering across the walls. Sarah was bleeding from her shoulder, gripping her blaster tightly. Lyra hid behind a console, coughing, her small face streaked with dust and fear. In the middle of the wreckage stood the armored figure, unharmed, tall, its red visor glowing like a burning eye. Ryan raised his rifle. Steady despite his shaking hands. "Who are you?" he demanded. The figure's voice came out calm, cold. "I am Directive 1, voice of the council. You should have died with your world." Ryan smirked bitterly. "Sorry to disappoint you." The machine tilted its head. "You humans never learn. Compassion is weakness. You save one child and doom a species." Lyra's voice broke the silence, trembling but firm. "That's not true. He saved us because no one else would." The figure turned toward her, the red glow reflecting off her silver eyes. "You are the child of the traitor," it said. "Your mother carried forbidden knowledge. Her existence violates order." Lyra took a small step back. Shaking, Ryan moved between them, his tone sharp. "You'll have to go through me first." Without warning, the figure charged, moving faster than any living thing. Ryan barely dodged the first strike, the energy blade slicing through the air where his head had been. He countered, firing at close range, the bolt striking the armor. But it didn't stop the machine. It grabbed him by the neck and threw him across the room. He crashed into a wall, the air knocked from his lungs. Sarah shouted, firing multiple shots, each one sparking against the armor. The figure turned its blade toward her, slashing across her arm. She screamed but kept shooting until her weapon overheated. Ryan forced himself up, coughing, "Sarah, get Lyra out." But Sarah shook her head, blood running down her arm. "Not without you." The machine advanced. Step by step, Lyra's heart pounded as she looked around, desperate for something, anything. Her eyes fell on the control console, still active, faintly glowing blue. The transmitter, her mother's data chip, was still connected to it. Lyra's small hands moved quickly, pressing buttons she barely understood. Ryan saw her and shouted, "Lyra, no!" But it was too late. Her trembling finger hit the transmit key. The chip glowed brighter, its energy pulsing through the room. The machine froze mid-step, its red visor flickering. "What did you do?" it hissed. Lyra's voice was soft but steady. "I sent it. Everyone will know now." Ryan's eyes widened. The transmission? The evidence. It was going out to every system still connected to the old network. The council's secret was no longer secret. The figure roared, slamming its blade into the floor. "You doomed your world." Ryan jumped forward, grabbing a fallen pipe. Striking the machine's arm with all his strength, the armor cracked slightly. Exposing glowing wires, he grabbed his sidearm, aimed at the gap and fired. A burst of energy ripped through the metal. Sparks flying, the machine staggered. Electricity arcing through its frame, Sarah shouted, "Ryan, now!" He lunged forward, pressing his gauntlet against the machine's chest. "Let this be the last war," he whispered. Then he pressed the detonator. The blast lit the entire room, throwing everyone backward. The explosion tore through the walls, and for a moment everything went white. When the dust settled, Ryan was lying near the console. His armor smoking, Lyra crawled toward him, tears filling her eyes. "Ryan! Ryan, wake up!" He opened his eyes weakly, smiling faintly. "You did it, kid. You opened the door." She shook her head, sobbing. "Don't say that. We have to go." He coughed, blood on his lip. "No, my part's done. You and your mother. You'll finish it." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small metal badge, the symbol of his old unit. "Take it," he said. "It'll open any free systems port, and maybe a few hearts too." Sarah limped over, kneeling beside him, her face broken with grief. "Ryan," she whispered, "you stubborn fool." He smiled, his eyes dimming. "Tell Mira I kept my promise." And then, quietly, he was gone. Lyra held the badge tightly, her tears falling onto his hand. Sarah placed a hand on her shoulder, whispering, "He gave us all another chance. Hours later, the ship lifted off again. Lyra's mother, though weak, was awake, holding her daughter close as Sarah piloted the vessel away from the shattered outpost. Behind them, Orion burned one last time, its signal spreading across the galaxy. The truth carried on every wave. Ryan Hale's name was on that message, marked as the human who opened the door. Years passed. On a small green world far away, a settlement grew, a place where humans and aliens lived together, not in fear but in trust. Children played under a twin sun laughing, and among them was a little girl with silver eyes who always greeted strangers first. When someone asked her why, she would smile and say, "Because once, 17 doors closed on me, but one opened and it changed everything." She built her home with a sign over the door, written in both alien and human script, "The 18th door welcomes all." And so the door that once saved her mother became a door for everyone who had nowhere else to go. The final gift of the human who believed that compassion was never weakness, but the beginning of everything strong.